of Kentucky, Daniel Cameron. He joins us this morning from Louisville. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Margaret. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. You were at the RNC this week giving a full-throated endorsement of President Trump. I want to ask you about something he did this morning when he liked a tweet from a supporter who wrote, "Kyle Rittenhouse is a good example of why I decided to vote for Trump." That's a 17-year-old who shot 3 people, killing 2 of them in Kenosha this week when he took the law into his own hands. Is that the kind of law and order for America that the president endorses and you support?
Well, let me just say that I condone violence in all of its forms. I want to make that clear from the very beginning. I also want to address, during my speech Tuesday evening, I tried to make it very clear that as Republicans, we recognize those who in earnest want to make sure that there's peace, justice, and equality.
Did you mean
in
condemn,
this country.
sir?
I'm sorry, say that again?
You said condone. I think perhaps you misspoke when you said you condone violence. You meant you condemn it?
No, condemn violence in all forms, absolutely.
Big dummy.
During your speech, when you endorsed President Trump, you spent a lot of time talking about race, and in particular, comments that Joe Biden has made about Black Americans that you found offensive, you said. Did you also find it offensive when President Trump tweeted last month a video of supporters of his yelling white power?
Deflection.
Well, what I was trying to articulate the other evening is that Joe Biden, the way that he looks at the black vote, he looks at it as a monolithic vote. In my judgment, there is great diversity within the black community, and Joe Biden doesn't seem to get that message nor understand it. And so what I was trying to say the other evening is that Joe Biden has taken for granted African Americans in this country.
Trump has done the same thing, Cameron.
Black, Democrat, or moderate. I think it is wise to look at your options during this campaign.
This guy is
and
full
make
of
an
shit.
individual assessment of who will better serve your interests.
We can't trust him. Black community, we cannot trust this guy at all.
Look, he fights every day for the American worker. I can
on this
certainly say
specific-
that I've known him for.
Sorry, but on that very specific question of something he tweeted that your fellow Republican, Senator Tim Scott, on this program rejected. And
Reject
before
it
that
and
has
listen
said,
to
in
this
his view,
dumb
President
black
Trump
man.
does say things that are racially insensitive. To be clear, were you also offended when the president did this?
Well, look, again, I condemn any sorts of violence, any sort of racist rhetoric. I certainly recognize that this is a country
Never
that's
answers the
ever growing and
question.
evolving. The Republican Party stands with those who welcome peace, justice, and equality. I think just like your viewers, we can certainly tell the difference between
Kentucky
those
is
that
doomed with
want
this
to
guy.
make sure that there's peace, justice, and equality in this country, as opposed that are trying to hijack this moment. Again, President Trump can speak for himself, and voters get to make an assessment of him
Right.
and Vice President Pence. So, look, I appreciate the way that President Trump has reached out to me, brought me into the fold in terms of conversations about law and order. We cannot have chaos reign in the streets.
I don't think anyone wants
fucker.
chaos reigning
He's
in
so
the streets, sir.
stupid.
But we will have to take a commercial break and continue our conversation with you on the other side of it. So glad to have you back with us. I want to begin asking you about where the Republican Party is right now in terms of this particular issue. According to our CBS News Battleground Tracker, 8 in 10 Republicans think that there has been too much attention recently on the issue of discrimination, compared to 44% of voters overall and 12% of Democrats. Do you believe that discrimination is talked too much about in our country?
Well, look, again, I will point back to the remarks that I made on Tuesday evening where I talked about the Republican Party wanting justice, peace, and equality. And we certainly recognize anybody who has an agenda that is consistent with those values. But again, like your viewers, we can certainly tell the difference between those that want those things in earnest and those who are trying to hijack a moment. So I think that poll probably indicates those within our party who recognize the legitimacy of those who...
If you agree with those
You.
Republicans who say it's talked about too much.
Directly.
I think that we need to make sure that we have frank conversations about race and color and discrimination.
I hate
within
black
the country.
people like
So
this
Again,
guy.
The Republican Party has been founded on the idea of making sure that those who are marginalized and vulnerable in this country have a fair share.
All black folk
As Attorney General
ain't
in
kinfolk.
Kentucky, you will make the decision as to what happens to those police
All
officers
skin folk
involved in the
ain't
killing of
kinfolk, that's
Breonna
for
Taylor.
sure.
Why has it taken you this long? It's been 5 months. When will you actually make a decision on
Good
whether to
question.
sentence them and charge them?
Well, in the Representative Demings, right before I came on, talked about wanting a thorough and fair investigation. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. That's what we've been conducting here in the Commonwealth. As part of my time in Washington, D.C., I met with the Department of Justice and FBI. We've got a critical component here as it relates to a ballistics report. There's no video footage of the incident in question and Ms. Taylor's passing.
They should be
And I can
fired,
announce
and
to
you
today,
too.
as part of those efforts early this week, we have received that ballistics report. Now again, that is a critical piece of this investigation. It's not the end-all be-all. There's still some witness testimony and interviews that have to be conducted, but we do have that ballistics report. We will be meeting with the FBI at the beginning of this upcoming week to have a painstaking review of that information, and that will help us in the analysis that needs to be undertaken before we can get to final steps. But just, again, like Representative Deming said,
Right.
we need a thorough and fair investigation, and I wholeheartedly agree with that sentiment.
Well, I'm curious as to what information you need specifically that you are hoping to learn from this ballistics. I just want to read from a letter that was written to one of the 3 officers terminated.
Make it
It was
clear.
from the chief of police to that officer, and it is scathing. It says, Brett Hankinson displayed an extreme indifference to the value of human life when he wantonly and blindly fired 10 rounds into the apartment of Breonna Taylor. He says the shooter wouldn't have even been able to know who he was firing at. Some of the rounds went into the apartment next door. It sounds like he was just blindly firing here. How is that not clearly a criminal action? What is
Listen
it
to
that you
this
actually
idiot.
need to hear, more than what the police chief has said himself?
Well, Margaret, I don't want to get into the specifics. It is an ongoing investigation. I don't want to compromise
Fire him.
in any way, but be confident. And again, your viewers should know
You're fired.
that we are looking
Fire.
at every stone, leaving no stone unturned. As we
Fire
do this
him.
investigation. Again,
Fire
thorough and
Daniel
fair investigation
Cameron.
deserved by all those involved. Look, as the Attorney General, initially this was not our
This
case.
guy,
We took
fire
it,
him.
because we have the resources internally to conduct a fair.
I'm speaking over his words that don't amount to nothing, so you're not missing anything. Go research it if you want to. He's just rambling.
And we also have the strength of relationship with the FBI to receive.
In other words, you're not looking to seek justice at all. More excuses.
Critical to our analysis.
And we look forward to hearing an update from you now that you have that information. Thank you very much, Mr. Attorney
What a
General.
waste. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out how much this guy deflected on most of her questions. She asked specific questions how Daniel Cameron felt about a certain issue, and you notice how he always reverted to, well, the Republicans we feel, the Republicans we feel. You never answered her questions directly. Not only that, when it comes out that the body cameras were not on those police officers and there are no cameras, not only should those police officers then be fired immediately like they should be, but you too for not guaranteeing the American public, the people, we the people, you're not guaranteeing our safety. You're not guaranteeing our safety at all, even when you spent hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars on body cams that you're not even using. And when they use them, they cover them up, or you don't release them right away to where people can see the transparency. You guys will hold on to the video cam footage for eons, deciding whether you want to release it or not. What good is having body cams? This is all shenanigans by the white supremacist nation. It's sickening. And people like Daniel Cameron, I'm so sick of these black faces. You're not representing black people at all. Not by a long shot. This is Black World TV, the new black media, black by popular demand. Leave your comments in the comments section. Please like and share, and we'll see you in the next broadcast. Peace out.